Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another term of devotionals delivered to you by the leadership of the school. I love putting these together for you guys. I love the opportunity to speak into what it is you're talking about in class each morning, each week. This term, we want to look at this whole idea of getting to know Jesus and doing that on purpose. One of the Bible verses that's the most important to me comes from Philippians chapter 4, verses 10 and 11, where it says, I want to know Christ and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his sufferings, becoming like him so that I too may attain one day to the resurrection from the dead. And that verse is so rich and so powerful. But for me, one of the things that stands out the most in that verse is this whole idea of, I want to know Jesus. I want to know Christ. And when we consider this whole idea of knowing Christ, if he's God, if he's the Son of God, and he's not here in the room with me, then how do I get to know him? When I consider getting to know one of the people I work with, or when I consider when I wanted to get to know the girl that I eventually married, I made some choices about how I spent my time. I was very deliberate to talk with people, to talk with her. I was very deliberate about how and when and where I spent my time. I spent my time with Lindy because I wanted to get to know her. It is important that we spend time with Jesus to get to know him. It is important that we spend time talking about Jesus to get to know him. And there's a lot to talk about. So over the course of this term, different leaders from across the school are going to talk to you about different aspects of what it means to get to know Jesus. And my prayer is that you take some time to discuss this in your class and take some time to reflect on it yourself. What does it mean to get to know Jesus? And how can you take deliberate actions towards getting to know him more? There's something you can do, and I encourage you to do it. So I want to start off by talking about this idea that Jesus is full of grace and truth. Jesus is full of grace and truth. And I want to read to you from the book of John, chapter 1, verse 14, where it says, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth." Now, the word there, when it says the word, it's actually referring to one of the ways that the people of God used to refer to Jesus as the Word. And perhaps you've even heard me talk about him in that sense. The Word. It's got a capital W, like it's somebody's name. The Word represents the word that was spoken right at the beginning of all time. When everything was made, the Word was there. Jesus was there when everything was made. He was God, he is God, and he was there right at the start. And this Bible verse turns around and says that he became flesh and made his dwelling among us, became one of us. He made his home among us. I find that absolutely amazing. He is the Word. He is the truth. He is the complete and absolute truth. And there is no way around that. He is completely the truth. But sometimes the truth can come across as hard and black and white, and it's this rule or it's not this rule. It's one way or it's the other. But when Jesus turned up, he turned up as one of us. He made himself vulnerable. He became one of us and lived on this planet at a time when things were not awesome. He went through a lot of stuff, and eventually he died an unjust death to take upon himself my sin, the things I've done wrong, and there's a massive list, right? So he turned up completely as truth, but he also turned up completely as grace to make a way for me to come to him. He fulfilled all those things that truth should and does fulfill. But he also turned up in a way that made it so that I could access that by dying for my sins. So completely truth, completely grace, and completely here for you. There's a lot there to reflect on and unpack. My hope and prayer is that it becomes more alive to you this term, this week, today, than it ever has before. Please know I'll be praying for you as you continue this term, and I can't wait to see you around. God bless.